back of the room. All right, so you can see in front of you. When you are ready and you are totally assembled, the kite needs 2 strings in order to fly. One of them creates the angle of attack, and it is going to go down from the top peak of your tetrahedron all the way down this tissue paper edge and be tied to the bottom of the tetrahedron. So don't cut any strings until you're ready to fly it. You want strings hanging off. Do not cut them. And then that string has a loop knot about 2 inches down. And that loop, when you attach the flying string to it, is what creates the angle of attack when you start running into the air. If I tied this loop knot from the bottom of this tetrahedron down, when I started running, it's not going to create an angle of attack, which means it's not going to create lift. Okay? The angle of attack, if you remember, does 2 things. If I put my hand out a car window and it's perfectly flat, it's not going to create any lift. The air is going to hit the front of my hand and cause it to go back, but the air going over the top of my hand and the air going under my hand are going to be moving at the same speed because they have to travel the same distance. So there's no difference. There's the same pressure above and the same pressure below. So all my hand's going to do is push back because of the air dragging on my hand. The minute I create an angle, like an airplane's wing, like a fan blade, like a helicopter propeller, then you're creating lift because now the air hits the bottom and pushes down. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So anytime you put an object on an angle, if you have enough air, it's going to start to feel like you're moving upward. Then also, now the air has to go over my hand and travel farther than it does to go under. Well, when air has to go farther and faster, faster moving air is scientifically proven to have less pressure. So there's less pressure here, more pressure under. So with the third law of motion, you're creating lift. With an angle of attack, the air moves faster over the top, so there's less pressure, which means you're also creating lift. Both of those combined give you the maximum height for anything to fly. If you've ever been on an airplane and you sat by the wing, a wing has a fixed 10-degree angle on it. But they have a flap on the back of the wing that they can turn down or turn up. If they want to go higher, I've seen the wing move down. And what that does is it creates a steeper angle of attack, going to cause the plane to get higher in elevation. When you land, I've seen that flap turn straight up and catch air. That and the brakes are what shimmy the plane and cause the plane to come to a stop. All right, so that's what they can control, that angle of attack on a plane just a little bit by just that one little tiny flap on the back of an airplane's wing. So to make your loop knot, you're going to want 2 strings, just like when you were making the tetrahedrons. You don't need any straws, but you're going to need 2 strings again. The long one, which was about 40 inches, and a short one, which was about 25 inches. So I've got my long one here, my short one right here. Then what you're going to do, so I'm going to use the rope as an example because it's a little easier to see. You're going to pull until the one end of the string is way shorter than the other. So this string's hanging off my table, almost down on the ground. And I've made something that looks like a hook. Okay. Now I'm trying to make a loop. So the first thing I'm going to do to make my loop knot is to pinch right up here. So I'm going to pinch that. And when I pinch that together, it makes a loop. Okay. So I'm going to pinch the top to make a loop. And then all I'm going to do is lift it up and turn it over the top of my string. That's it. All right. So all I did, I made a J. I pinched the top, I pick it up, and I just twist it until it crosses the strings that are on the table. So now what I have is I have my loop here and I have a hole there. Well, every time you were making a knot, the goal was to put the end of the string through the hole and pull. So once I cross my string, I'm going to take the loop, I'm going to put it under. So I'm going to put it under and I'm going to pull it through the hole. And there's your loop knot. All right, I'll show you again with the string. Now what it does is it gives you one short end and one really long end, because that angle of attack needs to be, that loop wants to be about 2 inches down from the top of your kite. So what I would do is I would tie this end of my string to this string. I'd tie those together, and then I'd come down here and I'd tie these two strings together, and then I'd have my loop knot on there. Okay, so let me show you with the string. I've got my long string. I'm going to make the end, one end long and one end really short, just like that. Okay. I'm going to pinch the top to make a loop, make a little circle loop right there. I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to turn it and turn it and turn it until it goes over the top of my strings. It's a little bit harder to see with the string. So all I did was I made my loop. Okay, I pinched it, and I just twisted it so that it went over the top of my string, creating that hole right there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end, I'm going to stuff it under and through that hole, and I'm going to pull. Now, right now, I've got a huge loop. So I want to shorten that loop. So what I do to shorten is I'm going to pull the ends. And that still gave me a pretty big loop, but I've got enough string so it's going to work. Then like I said, I come over here and I carefully put the loop about 2 inches down, and I'm going to hold it right there. And I'm going to tie these two ends of the string together so that that loop is about 2 inches down. If you have somebody at home that can actually take the loop and pinch it against the straw while you tie these two strings together, makes it a little bit easier. All right. It's hard to kind of tie the two strings together without having that loop move up and down on you. So if you can find a way to hold that loop 2 inches down and tie these two ends, it'll make it a little bit easier. Then all you do is come down here and tie these two ends. Okay. So that's the first string, is making the loop knot to create that angle of attack, and just tying it to the peak and then tying it to the base of your tetrahedrons, all the way down that tissue paper edge. All right, tissue on the left face, tissue on the right faces. Then the next string you need is a short one. And what that string does is it goes across the tissue paper faces of the top tetrahedron. And it also goes through the loop. So the loop guides the kite to create lift. This short string holds that. It controls that loop to keep it tight on this tissue paper edge so it's not flopping all over. So all you do is you take one end of your short string. I'm going to put it under the straw so I get it over to the vertex right here. I want to get it right in this corner. And then all I do is make my loop, stuff the end through the hole, pull. Make my loop, stuff the end through the hole, pull. Now I want it to go across this top face, and I want it to go through the loop. So I stuff the end through the loop knot, and I pull, and I come over to this vertex right here. I'm going to put it under and pull it over. I'm going to pull it kind of tight. Okay, and then I can tie my knot. I'm going to go under the straw, stuff the end through my loop, and pull. Under the straw, stuff my end over and through the loop, and pull. And once you get to this point, your kite is ready to fly. You can take a picture of it at this point on the floor and send it to me. And as long as it's assembled, that's your 30 points. Right. If you have some loose connections, that's when you're going to want to take just a short piece of string, put it through this vertice, put it through this vertice. When you tie your double knot, it's going to pull those together nice and tight. The tighter it is, the better it will redirect the air and the more lift that you'll create. So those are the two strings. One of them that guides and creates the angle of attack, and one of them that controls that loop to keep it in the same spot.